Yo, welcome back to another video for WizardChess. It's been a few weeks since the last one, and we have made some really big changes again, but I wanted to talk about why we've made those changes, not just the changes, and that's going to mean talking a bit about feedback. So if you've been keeping up with these videos, I've been talking about this a lot already, but I think it deserves its own video fully focused on how you interact with the audience and how you take feedback from players during early access. As a quick reminder, WizardChess is our tactical chess roguelike currently in development on Steam Early Access. In the last video, we talked about how we've introduced arcade mode, and that was already in response to player feedback, but I wanted to drill a bit deeper into what it feels like to deal with the feedback we get for the game. The feedback that comes through our Discord and on the comments on YouTube, people are lovely and very respectful, but you do get these drive-by Steam reviews, which is like a culture that I'm sure lots of developers are already familiar with on Steam, and maybe players as well. You know, the classic 0.1 hours played, 5,000 word review of why your game is terrible. This stuff isn't what I want to talk about with bad reviews. Those aren't useful comments. What I want to talk about with bad reviews is players who legitimately thought they would like your game, gave you money, downloaded it, and then decided they had a bad time. It is an emotional missile to send someone a bad review, right? Like, from the perspective of a player, they might be used to doing this to EA, where there are many reviews, or maybe Helldivers 2, where there are 200,000 negative reviews, right? You want to put things out in public, you open yourself up to this kind of feedback. But that challenging emotional asymmetry around it, where players don't feel like it's nearly as aggressive as the developers who receive these reviews, it can create animosity and get in the way of something actually useful falling out of this process. What we have often found is that unsolicited advice is pretty much always useless. And I'm sure I'm going to upset somebody with literally that comment, and there'll be unsolicited advice in the comments of this video saying that I shouldn't have said that. This is basically UX design 101, so this might not be surprising to anyone, but when a player comes to you with a disagreement with your design, they're not wrong. If someone didn't have fun playing your game, how can they be wrong? They know if they had fun. Don't tell them they didn't have fun or that they played it wrong, right? If they played it wrong, you didn't signal to them the right way to play it so that they could have fun, or it was never going to be fun for them, in which case your marketing pulled them into a game that they probably shouldn't have been interested in. In fact, this is a counterintuitive thing you often run into. Getting negative feedback can be a positive sign because it means you're pushing a button hard enough that someone had an emotional response. That doesn't mean one would seek to get negative reviews on their game, obviously, but if people are annoyed that they bought a game that didn't match their expectations or it wasn't as fun as they had hoped, on some level it meant you kindled an idea in their mind that they really liked, and then they were let down by the reality. Is the promise you made to them in their mind something that you can't deliver? Because then you should change the promise you're making to something that you can deliver. But if the thing that's appearing in their mind is more incorrect compared to what you were going for, well, your marketing might actually be the reason that you're going to get bad reviews. For a long time, we've been positioning WizardChess as a deck building chess-like was the original terminology we used, and we found that has really divergent outcomes in terms of player understanding. Literally, like a verbatim quote we've had. Some people will say, this game doesn't really remind me of chess, and then you say, in what way? There are two sides. They take turns where they move one piece each correspondingly. Each piece has its own movement pattern. It takes place on a checkerboard. All combat takes place through spatial positioning of units, which have different rules about them. And you have a king/queen/hero unit that you need to not lose, otherwise you lose the game. To have a player be like, it's not like chess, you're like, okay, we are seeing something different in what it means for something to be a chess-like game. It's not because this player is stupid. Like, if I list those points out in response to that review, it's not going to turn it into a good review. That wouldn't achieve anything. Something like arcade mode, a time-limited mode, has always been in the pool of things we wanted to build for the game, and we were waiting until it made sense to tackle these features. I think this is another part that early access reviews have trouble capturing, right? I appreciate the reviews because they're very useful for feedback, and positive ones are obviously motivating as well. But when I have a backlog of things that we already want to change and someone in the reviews is saying, you should change those things, I'm like, yeah, we should. Something that's come up in almost every piece of feedback we've received is that it takes too long to start unlocking units. Units are the coolest part of this game. Why aren't there more of them earlier on? There are so many in the game. Why can't I get all of them? We heard the message there and just decided to be like, let's make a lot more units and just put them into arcade mode to create a much larger initial pool of things you can unlock, and it will happen much faster. There's a lot of doubt in these past couple of months of whether this was a good choice to push for a bit more out of the game. But I'm feeling very confident that it was the right choice now, because the game is the most fun that it has been at any point in development for me. And this is why bad reviews don't matter that much to me a lot of the time. The main thing we took away from all of the feedback we've been getting over the past few months is really that once you onboard into the game, it's quite good. But if you don't climb that initial hill of like learning the mechanics and seeing the point of the loop, then you won't want to push further. So firstly, thank you to people who have given us feedback in that direction. It's extremely useful. Thank you for bearing with us while we try and work on it. The tutorial now blends seamlessly into your first run. And once you complete the boss of that run, you will immediately unlock a unit. And the odds are very high that if you play a game again right afterwards, you will unlock another unit. And that's the carrot on the stick to make you keep going. I am so much happier with the way that it feels to onboard into the game now, and I'm very excited for people to give it a go and give us more feedback. Like it's really exciting to be at this particular phase of the game where we just have to worry about fun. There is an unfortunate next phase, which is worrying about fixing every single bug imaginable, but I'm going to revel in the fun for a little bit more. One thing that I bring over from my professional experience as both a designer and a software engineer is just project management chops. Game devlogs often outline, here's our last milestone of dot points in a Notion or a Trello board, and here's our next milestone of dot points. That's hiding the real complexity of design and planning to me, which is, well, where did you get those action items from? How did you decide they would be in those milestones? How did you allocate them? And so you don't really get any insight into how people are planning their game. I'll spoil it for you. They're making it up. That's the only way that you can actually produce these orderly lists of tasks for you to do, is to think about what the game needs. Like, no plan survives contact with reality. So we can be as clever as we like about what we're supposed to be doing. I don't care about that. What I care about is how it actually manifests. And my product management approach has changed a lot over the years, from being technically focused and dot point focused to there is one focal point at a time. We call these missions. A given mission might be the current one, which is rework the onboarding to the game. It sounds poorly scoped, but obviously within it, there is a focused idea of the onboarding is not fun, it needs to become fun. So that lets you drill down to, well, what should we check first as possibilities? And we do a bunch of design. Then it's like, what are some things we'd like to prototype and narrow down even further? And then finally, how are we going to actually solve this? It is disingenuous for me to act as if I know what the solution to a given mission is when we embark on it. And that's also the fallacy of most professional project management. Like, projects don't go according to the plan. The plan is to help you have some idea of where to start. I've brushed up against this topic a couple of times in the past few videos. We have a pretty artistic approach to game design, I suppose. A lot of people seem to perceive game design as a competition, an entrepreneurial grind. You know, if you're not selling like hundreds of thousands of units or stacking 100K wish lists for your launch day, then you're just losing and failing and no one wants to hear from you. And I haven't been as assertive about that on video as I feel like I should be. Like, legitimately, it's not interesting to me to play that game. I would be okay with making money from WizardChess, obviously, but we make this game because we think it's cool and it's fun to play, and it's a commercial product to justify the thousands of hours of nights and weekends put into it. It's not about the money. And like, this can be really frustrating with reviews where they will say, how dare you charge us $10 for this game that has a problem with it? Personally, I think that it should be okay to make a game that you sell for money, that you don't try and finish as quickly as possible, that might not be perfect. So I guess that's like a big part of the message I wanted to have in this video. We read all the feedback. We take it very seriously. We are always seriously designing this game, even if it seems like we're non-responsive from the outside sometimes, or doing things that don't make sense. At the same time, the expectations people will project onto game developers are nuts. Alright, so I think I'm going to stop rambling here. I hope that it is useful or interesting to people to hear my perspective on some of these things. Like, I don't know that I often include very much directly actionable advice, but that's not what I hope to do with these videos. I kind of want to promote discussion, make people question the way things are, and just explain my attitude and why we're making the game we're making. I'm proud of this game. I believe that it's good. I like a lot of the design decisions. I put a lot of work into the programming, the art, like every element of it. I wouldn't be making it if I thought that it wasn't worth people checking it out. If this video was interesting, if you like the look of the game, if you think you have some interesting feedback for me, please consider checking out the game and yeah, join the Discord, talking to me about it. I'd love to hear what you've got to say. In the meantime, you can like and subscribe for more here, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.